Welcome to Borderline Winning, the podcast where life is messy, progress is progress, and nobody actually has it all together. I'm your host, Sharina J, and this is the place where we'll talk about real life, the good, the hard, the awkward, and the hilarious parts nobody wants to put on social media. Some days you're going to feel like you're crushing it, and some days you're going to feel like you're barely holding it together. And most days you're probably somewhere in between, which means congratulations, you're borderline winning. Here we're going to laugh, learn, and be honest about what it really looks like to grow, heal, and move forward one imperfect step at a time. So whether you're watching or listening, grab your coffee, your water, or your emotional support snack, and let's get into it. Before I get into today's topic, I want to give you a little context about me. I'm a gunshot survivor, and that's a part of my story we'll dive into some more throughout this show. That's usually the part most people know about me. What they don't always see is the full picture. They don't see the adjustments, the learning curve, the resilience that gets built quietly over time. My life ended up looking different than what my parents once expected. And over time, I had to learn how to make that life my own. So when I talk about life and growth and purpose, I'm not talking about it from a perfect place. I'm talking about it from lived experience. And that's where the name borderline winning comes from. Because I don't feel like I'm always winning. I don't feel like I'm always thriving. And I definitely don't feel like I have it all figured out. But I also know this: I'm not losing. I'm still here. I'm still growing and I'm still trying. Borderline winning is that space between falling apart and holding it together, giving up and showing up, grief and gratitude. This isn't the flashy version of winning. This is real life winning. It's making it through a hard conversation, paying one more bill, taking one more breath, choosing not to quit. That's the kind of winning this show is about. I created this podcast because I know I'm not the only one living in that in between space. There are people watching or listening right now who feel behind in life, behind in healing, or behind in happiness. And I wanted to create a place where you don't have to pretend, you don't have to perform, and you don't have to be inspirational. Just be honest. This isn't a podcast where I tell you how to fix your life. This is a we're figuring it out together podcast. So, what can you expect from the show? You will hear a mix of solo episodes and real conversations with guests, people who've lived some life, learned some things the hard way, and some who are still figuring it out too. We'll talk about faith, fear, family, healing, growth, the messy middle no one prepares you for. Some episodes will just be me. Some episodes will be conversations, but all of them will be honest. And the goal is simple: for you to feel less alone when you leave than when you showed up. And that brings me into what I want to talk about today. Because one of the biggest places I see people struggle is with the feeling of being behind in life. So today we're talking about that, feeling behind in life. I used to think that by a certain age, I would have certain things figured out. I thought I'd be more confident by now, more settled, more ahead. But instead, there are moments where I look around and I think, how is everyone else so far ahead of me? Social media, of course, doesn't help with that because everyone's always posting, promotions or their houses or their gym pics. And, I'm over here thinking, I brushed my teeth, I answered emails, I got in the sauna. Is that a win? And then those thoughts creep in. Am I late? Did I miss something? Did I mess up somewhere along the way? It feels like we're all on this invisible timeline. But here's the question I had to ask myself: behind compared to whom? Because life isn't a race, we just treat it like one. So for me, feeling behind shows up in a few different ways: physically, emotionally, financially, mentally, spiritually. I've felt behind watching other people live the life I thought I'd be living. I've felt behind when things took longer than I expected. I felt behind when I had to start over again. And one, way you feel behind is just comparing yourself constantly to other people. And feeling behind messes with your head. It makes you compare yourself, rush yourself, downplay your progress. You start telling yourself, I should be further. I should be better. I should be over this by now. But just because your path looks different doesn't mean it's the wrong one, especially with healing. Healing takes time you didn't plan for. and growth can't be rushed. So, what I'm learning now is this: maybe I'm not behind, maybe I'm on a different path. Maybe the life I thought I had, maybe the life I thought I have wasn't the life I was meant to build. That makes sense? Maybe the life I thought I'd have wasn't the life I was meant to build. And success doesn't always look like achievement. Sometimes success looks like stability or peace or just not quitting. And progress isn't always loud. Sometimes it's invisible. Sometimes it's emotional. Sometimes it's showing up and it still counts. So, to my listeners, if you feel behind right now, if your life doesn't look the way you thought it would, if you feel stuck, if you feel like everyone else is moving and you're standing still, I want you to know this: you're not broken. You're not late. You're not failing. You're still becoming. And becoming takes time. You're not behind. You're becoming someone new. And that's borderline winning. Today, we're going to be talking about the feeling of being behind in life. This is the episode for people who feel like they're doing life, they're just slightly off schedule.
Amen.
The ones who look around and think, wait, am I behind? If you've ever felt like everyone else got the memo but you, this show is for you. Today, we are being joined by Jeannie. Jeannie, thank you so much for joining us today. How's your day going?
I got to talk to you. I'm doing great.
Jeannie, let's just get right into like feeling behind in life. I know there's so many examples I can give, and I'm sure you have some examples we'd love to hear today. There was a time in my life where I really felt like I had missed something. And specifically, I was thinking about this morning, like what was I gonna talk to you about feeling behind in life? And I can say this. My husband and I, we dated for 10 years before we got married. So I was 30 when I got married, and I was 35 when I had my son. And by the time I had my son, who was a newborn when I was 35, most of my friends already had like kids who were 10 years old or teenagers. I mean, I felt just in life, like I just felt like, everybody got married sooner than I did. Everybody had kids sooner than I did. So that's kind of like the one thing I think in my life that I really felt behind in life. And now I know I was on a perfect timeline, right? Now I know, like, me and my husband traveled to, like 19 countries. We're living life. We weren't really, we thought about getting married and we thought about those things, but that wasn't like the most important thing to me. And then by the time we wanted to have kids, like I said, when I had my son, one of my good friends, like 4 years later, became a grandma. Was shocking for everybody, but also it's like, not worrying about other people's timeline and just knowing like your timeline is for you. Is there something in your life that you can share with us, like where you felt behind?
The same thing, right? So, as a child, I was ahead at school. I was killing it in first to get a job, first to get into a good school, doing a lot of things ahead of schedule. And then, same thing, I watched my friends, my family, everybody get married, have children, buy a house. That was one of my big things was to buy a house early. And then I got sick and it all came to a screeching halt.
Yeah.
My life plan said, "No, this isn't your track."
Right. Timeline.
So, yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, so I had to readjust, so does that mean there's something wrong with me? Or maybe I was meant to have some different experiences than the
exactly.
person next to me?
Let me ask you a question though. You were saying like, you being ahead in school and all these other things, like were you learning how to like clap for yourself because other people weren't like acknowledging those small wins for you either?
No. I would say big
No.
no on that.
Really? Okay.
I had a lot of outside validation. I was winning awards, trophies, being put up on a pedestal, and I felt like I couldn't live up to that.
Interesting.
Exactly the opposite. I was like, "How am I
Okay.
ever gonna learn to live up to these expectations?" People think that I'm going to do this and be all that, and I was just trying to find myself.
Yeah. And where did you find yourself? I mean, you're a chemist, you're super smart. You
I
are
mean,
a
have I found myself?
I think you have. You are like a jack of all trades. I feel like if I have questions about anything, I can actually call you and be like, "Hey, I know you're a chemist, but can you help me with my IT?"
Say that I am a lifetime student. How's that? I have this curious mind where I always want to dig into things and know how they work and find out more about things. Maybe that's just accepting that part of who I am, you know?
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. So, and then I also think like it, being behind is an illusion, right? I don't think that like everybody's timeline is so different. Like, why do we compare ourselves so much to other people? You know what I mean? Like, why are we like so obsessed with this idea of a schedule that, like if you don't hit this, if you're not married by 25, if you don't have a kid by 30, you're behind in society. Like, who said that? Why
Yeah.
did I listen to that? Why did I let that affect me so much? I mean, I honestly can think of times where I was just like, like, what am I doing with myself? Like everybody has a husband, a house, mortgages and cars and children and PTA meetings. And I'm like, hey, should we go to the Bahamas this weekend? Totally different life and both are okay. But again, I think do you think it's just society putting that on us? Do you think it's our family? Do you think it's the learning institutions that we're in? Like, why do you think we're so adamant with these timelines?
Absolutely. I've got that pressure all the time. When is she gonna grow up was basically the she still thinks she's a kid. You can't live that lifestyle and be an adult. Well, why not? It's my life. So fortunately, my grandma Smith, fantastic. She would just every day her and I would sit at the table in the kitchen and play cards, and she'd say, "Jeannie, you don't listen to what anybody else says. You do what makes you happy." She would do that all the time. She's like, "You just ignore those people. They don't know."
And then you know what? I would say to myself, like, you're not behind. You're just rebuilding in private. Like, I'm just rebuilding this life, but just in private so other people don't know. Like, and then, I think part of the reason we feel like so behind also is just because of like social media, right? Everybody's
Just gonna go there.
Yeah, everybody is posting their promotion, their marriage, their gym pics, their you know what I mean, their vacation homes. I mean, like
Ugh,
everybody's always like posting all of the happiness in their life and you're only seeing one side, let's be honest, right? Along with that house comes that mortgage, along with, the marriage also comes integrating another family into your life. Like nobody talks about like those sides of it. It's always just oh, I'm having a baby, but not, oh, I am exhausted because I have sleepless nights now.
right. Like, don't air your dirty laundry, right?
Don't tell the truth because we don't want to discourage anybody from getting on this timeline. Everybody needs on this timeline, right? So yeah, and I
Well,
always
yeah, it came from family, it comes from your
yeah.
teachers, it comes from they say Great Expectations, right? That book? Doesn't that
Yeah.
sum it all up?
Yes.
Like, we put you
Absolutely.
on this timeline, we supported you, we planned out your life for you, get with the program. I'm like, "Wait a minute."
Yeah, I
Yeah,
100% agree. And, also like sometimes you're not late to things. Sometimes you're still healing or building or redirecting, right? You're not like, I hate when people would be like, she's like stuck in this position or she's stuck with this. Like, no, sometimes that is where you need to be. Like, sometimes movement isn't necessary at that moment. Sometimes it's okay to be still and to listen and figure things out instead of moving the wrong way, right? I mean, you
right.
could be behind by moving the wrong way. Like, I'm not sure if I should do this. Should I do this? It's best to figure it out first instead of just jumping.
And then you still get pressure. You have to set that boundary like, they're pressuring me to move on and take the next step. Well, I call it getting back to me time. I've said, "I have a process." And they're like, "Well, what's your process?" I said,
Yeah,
"It's my process."
absolutely.
And that's okay.
Absolutely.
That's okay. I mean, I think sometimes we find it easier to fix somebody else's problems than take a look at ourselves, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And he says, "I'm gonna fix you. Well, never mind that I'm a train wreck. I know how to fix you."
Yeah. Also, like while you're building and becoming whatever that you're going to be. I think that shift also happens when you stop asking yourself questions like constantly, like, why am I behind? Why am I starting now? Like, I think the pressure and the negativity that you put on yourself can be worse than other people put on you, right? Like, I know sometimes when I get in my own head, it's like, okay, no one else cares that it's 9 o'clock and I haven't brushed my teeth yet. As long as I'm not around anyone, right? No one else cares. But I will start to feel like, okay, Sharina, this is ridiculous. It's 9 o'clock. You haven't showered and brushed your teeth and checked your emails because those are the things that I have to do every morning to get my day started.
Is that your mom in your head saying, "You're
Yeah,
wasting this day"?
I think so. I definitely think that's my mother in my head. If I was more like my mother, I would be cleaning at 6 a.m. That's the start
Me too.
of the day. That is the start of the day. And if you don't, then your whole day is wasted, right? If you're not cleaning, the house isn't clean, the meals aren't prepped, right? Your whole day, it's like they could never like my mom could never rest without guilt, I think. And I think that's a learning thing that I'm learning. Like rest is okay. You don't have to constantly be moving and trying to catch up to sometimes. Sometimes it's okay just to be still, relax, drink your water. If you want to go to the gym, even if you're the slowest one there, that's okay. Like, sometimes it's just like putting that one foot first and just starting.
It started, yeah. My mom used to say, "If it's not done by noon, it's not getting done today." And I was like, "Well, I'll be starting at noon.
Yeah. Yeah.
You might be stopping at noon, and that's okay for you, but today
I
I'm gonna start then."
Yeah, I also think like sometimes you have to start over, right? And a lot
Mhm.
of people don't think like, some people might, let's say they got a divorce. So they're starting over. Your kids leave the house. So you're starting over. Like, I feel like you're always becoming, you're always growing, you're always doing. You're growing into something else, right? Constantly. You're never going to stay in your 20s and worry about partying in your 30s, worrying about your career is like, you know what I mean? You're constantly evolving and changing. And there's so many layers to that. And I think it's okay sometimes to just sit and think, who am I becoming?
You made me just think of something. When I was, in my 20s, I traveled every week, every other weekend. My mom was frustrated with me. My dad says, she might be onto something. Maybe we should have retired first and worked later." He's like, "'Cause she sure seems like she's having a lot more fun than we did in our 20s."
But you know what? You're developing your character then, you know? And that was going to hold the weight of the next level, right? That you're going to take what you learned and experienced and all the growth that you had from that. And that was going to help in the next 10 years.
Yeah.
And
He
is
he
that
just made a big joke out of it, though. Like, she actually has the energy to enjoy this traveling bit right now, and we waited. Why did we wait?
why
You
did
know?
you wait?
Yeah, why did you wait? You
Yeah,
know?
I don't know because I mean, we traveled too. We traveled a lot before we got married. Even now that my son's older, it's easier to travel with him. So we've been starting traveling again. But yeah, I mean, I can say I lived in my 20s. Like I lived it up. I had the most fun, but I was also
Experience life.
responsible. I went to school. I finished college.
Yeah,
I have 3 degrees. I worked my butt off, but I also loved to have fun. I
right.
think you need both. I think you need the responsibility, but you also need to have fun.
But it's, letting go of that judgment
Yes.
and being true to yourself, right?
And this is the thing. This was what I told myself. As long as I could afford it, I could do it. And I could. I didn't have, anyone else I had to take care of. I didn't have any kids. I didn't have a husband. It was just me. So as long as I worked, went to school, did what I did, and, took care of my responsibilities, it was okay if I wanted to hop on a plane and go to another country.
Be a burden on somebody else,
Exactly.
right? As long as you're self-reliant. But you and I are both very self-reliant people. And
Yeah.
I know that's becoming more difficult,
Yeah.
these
I
days.
mean, definitely. I mean, there also
And
like
that's okay, right?
it's
It's
okay, and there's also, like,
yeah,
this pressure to perform, right? So once you
mhm.
get there, it's the pressure to keep your performance up and to keep growing and going up that corporate ladder or, there is a lot of different pressures, and I think the older I get, the less I care about that.
Yeah.
The more I care about peace, the more I care about family time, the most valuable thing I realized that I have is time. And I don't want to waste it doing things that don't make me happy or that make me sad or don't bring value to my life. Like, I am very cautious with my time now. I'm cautious with my time with the people I spend it with. I'm cautious with the jobs or contracts I hold. I'm cautious with, really like even the shows that I watch on TV. I'm like, I stopped watching so many shows unless they're documentaries. I love documentaries. But I definitely read more now, listen to more audiobooks. That's more of a value for my time.
So let me ask you something.
Yeah,
If you could go back and change something, would you?
absolutely.
Yes?
Yeah, I won't even lie and say no.
I mean, because who you are is based on those experiences,
I
right?
would. And can I tell you what I would change?
Absolutely.
I would be a person that put boundaries up.
Amen.
Mhm. 100%. That is the one thing I wish I learned earlier, that my boundary I would have put boundaries down, and if somebody crossed that, that would have been it. Like, I held on to people way longer than I should have, right? I'm talking about friends now.
Mhm. Oh, absolutely, I agree. I
Yeah,
agree.
yeah. So, would I have changed something? 100%. I like really boundaries in all aspects of my life, my work, my friends, my family. Like I definitely I would change that because I think when I started doing that, became happier,
Mhm.
stronger, more confident in myself. And I wish I would have had those things earlier.
Does it not give you joy to help people? I know it does.
Yes, I love that.
I
But
know.
also, when my cup is at E and I don't have anything to give, that's where I'm like, I can't keep going because my cup is on empty and I don't have anything to give. Or before, I would just be like, give, give, give. I could physically get sick. I can think of times I physically got sick because I had no more energy. I had no more, I'd be like, I need to eat something, but I can't because I have to help this friend, help her move, help her do like something, you know what I mean? I was always helping people. I have to pick somebody up from work or, I have to do this. And it's like, take care of yourself.
So that's a kind of a core part of who you are and who people see you as.
Yeah.
Have people reacted well to that change?
I would say no. I would have to say no. I think it's very hard for people around me to be like, oh my gosh, like I actually had someone recently a week ago say, are you mad at me or something? And I'm like, no, I'm not mad at you. I just do not have the time for what you're asking of me. And I am unable to help you with that. And that's okay. And they were just kind of like shocked, like, you've never told me no. So I wasn't expecting that. So I just assumed you'd be there. So I was counting on you for this.
Goodness.
And I was like, okay, well, that's not going to work for me. Yeah, that's not going to work for me. And
We hear it metaphors all the time, right? Put your own oxygen mask on first.
yeah,
You can't pour from an empty cup, right? It
exactly.
there's so many of these out there, and yet we continue to do it, right? We
Yeah,
attach our self-worth to that.
yeah,
We let it become a part of how people define us.
yeah,
And I almost feel like we're diminishing ourselves at somebody else's,
yeah,
to build somebody else up and
100%. And you know
yeah.
what, Jeannie? This right here, this is what progress looks like. Have definitely made some progress with boundaries. We're actually going to have several episodes about boundaries because I think that it is so important for people to know that it's okay to have boundaries. It's okay. It's okay to protect yourself and to put yourself first.
Do you still feel behind?
And there's no guilt to that. There's no shame over here for that to say I put myself first now. There's no guilt, there's no shame, there's none of that. And
Is that attached to that feeling though, the lack of boundaries and you falling behind,
yeah,
right?
I would definitely say, yeah. I mean, I think I probably would have progressed more had I put up boundaries, right? I was constantly helping someone else versus, doing what I needed to do, right? So, yeah, I mean, I don't think I would change helping people. I've always helped people. It's who I am. But I think I've learned that helping people means different things now.
Right,
Taking care of somebody is different than
right,
helping them.
right. Enabling, right?
Enabling.
Yeah,
Absolutely. So
right.
that's totally different. I would 100% stop enabling people. Yes.
I feel like
So,
I turned this into interviewing you.
yeah, I know. It's okay. I like to talk.
But you have some great experiences, and for what it's worth, I feel like you're doing quite well.
Thank you. And you know what? I just want anyone who's listening to know, like, if you're feeling behind and you're hearing this, know that you are not late. You are not failing. You are not off track. You are becoming the person that you need to be, and becoming takes time. So, this is just your reminder. Brush your teeth if you need to, answer your emails. Get in your sauna, go to therapy, choose peace. All of that counts. Yes. So your progress is still progress, even if it's small. And don't compare yourself to others. I know it's hard, but just know that everybody has their own path, and it everybody is apples to oranges. There is no way you can compare yourself to someone else because it's just not fair. It's not fair to yourself, to them. Like, let's stop doing that. Let's just start, focusing on our healing, our journeys, and getting where we need to be.
And celebrating your wins.
Yes, celebrate your look. I am my biggest, cheerleader when I get these small little wins. Like, I charged my car and it and I made it home. Cheers.
Yay! Is that your win for today?
Yeah, that is definitely my win for today. So that's for me. Yes. Thank you.
You made it home.
Yeah. So you know what? So before we end it, I always talk about the tiny but mighty win report. So you heard my win for today was getting my car charged, getting it unstuck, and getting home. Jeannie, tell us, what is your tiny but mighty win?
So, our viewers don't know, but I'm in the process of moving to a new state. And today I found some housing options and I got everything labeled in my house. You see the little sticky notes and totes and stuff around me. So I got everything labeled for the Packers and ready to go. Yes.
Let's get a clap for Jeannie. Well, thank you so much. This was amazing talking to you. Love your energy. And I feel it's just very easy to talk to you. So thank you again. I hope you come back and share some more wisdom with us.
Step backwards is okay if it moves you three forward.
That's right. That's right. All right. Thanks, everyone. It's the tiny but mighty win report. My tiny but mighty win this week is getting this podcast set up. I am not tech savvy. If something says sync, my instinct is to close the app and pray. This was a group project. My 10-year-old son, G4, was tech support. My husband helped, and a very patient Best Buy sales rep walked me through it step by step. But it worked. The mic worked. The recording worked. And somehow you're watching me right now, which means I didn't quit when technology tried my last nerve. So if your win this week was doing something you didn't feel qualified to do, but you did it anyway, that counts. That's a tiny but mighty win. And that's it for today's episode of Borderline Winning. If this made you laugh, think, or feel a little less alone, I'd love for you to subscribe, leave a review, or share this episode with someone who might need it. And whether you're watching or listening today, thank you for spending this time with me. And the next episode, we're diving into what it means to keep going when you don't feel strong and why showing up halfway still counts. Remember, life doesn't have to be perfect to be meaningful. Life is messy. Progress is still progress. I'm your host, Sharina J. And until next time, be kind to yourself, keep showing up, and don't forget, you're probably doing better than you think. Talk to you soon.